Wayne Brady is coming out as pansexual. Wayne Brady, Jimmy, do you know what pansexual is?
Like everything. I don't know. I think it's
No.
like
Don't you just picture somebody banging a pan when you hear that? Like, why would they name it a pansexual? Why would that? If you're going to say I just sleep with every pansexual, apparently is I just sleep with everything. Like it's your way of saying. But we already
that's
had a
what I said. That's what I just said. You like everything.
yeah, but they had a term for it. It was called bisexual, right? It was basically bisexual just
Well,
meant
that was when there was only two things.
well, again, they say LGB, they still have the B in there, so they still are at least pretending that there's still two things in the whole acronym train.
So
So
what they're saying is you're just putting all those letters in the pan, cooking it up.
just cooking it up, just cooking it up, and this guy has, his career's gone down the shitter. You just come out with some random shit. You get a few headlines. People start talking about you a little. We're talking about them right now, so it's worked. Um, I guess that's the real win here. Do you think that Trump should come out as pansexual in order to get out of all charges? Because he's now been indicted 4 times with like
I don't
80.
think he cares about that. I don't think he cares about the charges.
No, they're all nonsense. Oh, so for those out there that don't know this, yeah, every single one of them is fake and phony. They're like, well, how would there be 4 different sets of fake and phony? Because they all coordinated them for election interference. My favorite part of this is that they're targeting him for talking about how election interference is real. And thus they said, you know what, there's no better way to prove that this guy's full of shit. We didn't mess with the election. Then we'll just go ahead and fuck with this election and call him a liar the whole time. Like that's their plan. This is how they're going to convince the country that this guy's full of shit. We don't mess with
What
elections.
is that called? Isn't that what they call smoke screen or
Well,
something about fire?
so it's just so obvious. I saw a poll yesterday that actually warmed my heart because I'm not a Trump guy, but 70% of the country called bullshit on this. 17% said they didn't know. I think 20% said no. 7% said they didn't know. 20% or 17% said they believed the charges. 70% said they didn't, and the rest were undecided. So basically, 83% of the country either is this is bullshit or I don't know what's going on. But it's obviously an attempt to take out the front runner with. So I read my father. We and I, my dad's a senile old man, and he comes in. He's read the indictment. Read the indictment is what he said. You want to know why he said that? Because the news told him to read the indictment.
Yeah.
He didn't read it's a 45-page indictment. So how many people are going to read this? So he challenged me to read the indictment. So I read the indictment. And first of all, I was shocked. It sounded like a first-year law student wrote it. It was rushed out. There were legal conclusions being made in the charging document, which should not happen, saying that somebody's lying without any proof of their lying, like things like that. Like basically, he's a liar. But if you were to take out of those 45 pages, everything that is constitutionally protected speech or talking with your attorney, and remove anything that's not a crime that's just covered under the Constitution, you would be left with the signature page and the hologram from the DOJ. There's nothing in there. And he's like, what are you talking about? There's all sorts of, I go, tell you what, we don't need to fight about this. It's numbered. It's in there. It's all on paper. You go in and you tell me which numbers are your strongest and let's discuss them. You find the ones where you say, this is where this is some fucking
You're
evidence.
a fucking saint to do that.
Crickets, like nothing. There is nothing in there. So I have not read the last indictment full, but I do know that one of the charges against Mark Meadows, who's Trump's campaign manager, they indicted him for asking for a phone number, not calling somebody. He requested a phone number, and one of the charges in the indictment is this guy requested a phone number from an individual. It's all bullshit. We all know it's bullshit. None of it will hold up on appeal. They have dirty judges. They may get a conviction because it's rigged. It's so rigged that in Georgia, they released the charges up on the website that were through the grand jury charges. before the grand jury had convened.
Yeah.
So they released the final
would-
charges or the people that actually agreed on the charges.
And then
And
they
they
said
lied.
they didn't.
And they said, "Oh, these are just samples. They're just samples." And
This
then the
is
charges
stock footage.
and they're the exact fucking same. And then they were like, "It's not the charges. There's no docket number. There's no
Those are
judge."
just examples of what the charges could be.
The best part is like they're like, "It's not. These are samples. It's just there's no docket court number or their court case number. There's no judge." And you go and look at it. There's a docket, court case, and judge. So they're literally those three elements that they said are not there are there. And they're saying it's a sample. And then when the actual charges came out, lo and behold, it was an exact match. Or is my cousin Vinny says, identical.
Identical.
And so this is a DA in Georgia and the DA in New York that ran, that lobbied and said, "I would like to be your elected official on the fact that I'm going to put this guy in jail on something. I don't know what yet, but I want your money. You elect me and I will put him in prison."
That's what he ran on.
That both New York and Georgia ran on that. And then you've got Jack Smith, who's out there putting together a free speech. Basically, he's indicting Trump for free speech and lying, like the charges are. He's a liar, which, by the way, would mean every politician would be in jail.
But is that a crime to lie?
No, it's not. Every politician would be in jail. Even if he knowingly lied, which I'm 100% sure Trump believes that the election was stolen.
Yeah.
But his evidence is other people told him it wasn't. Well, do you think Trump listens to anybody like that? No. Plus, at this point, it's pretty obvious Joe Biden didn't get the most votes in history. So if you believe that in the middle of the night when nobody's counting votes, that 100,000 votes come in while no votes are being counted with a fake flood in Georgia that never happened. There was a flood that shut down counting. They pull suitcases out. They start running the same ballots through the machines while there's no poll watchers. And the votes go, 160,000 vote lead disappears overnight while no votes are supposed to be counted at all. And people are like, "No, that's normal. That's fucking normal. That's normal." All those people on video, no, that's fucking. What do you want them? They were doing their jobs. They're doing their jobs. Look at them. They're working over. They should be paid overtime.
Hey, they're not lying. They are doing their jobs.
They are doing it.
Just not the job we think they're doing.
Or in Wisconsin, 100,000 votes come in for Biden. To the lines like this, and the line spikes up, where 93% of the votes that came in were for Biden. There were counties in Georgia. There were counties in Georgia. People are like, there's no voter fraud. There's counties in Georgia where 800 military votes, 800 out of 800 voted for Joe Biden in our U.S. military that usually votes about 80% for the Republican. But all 800 in Georgia, which is, they all voted for Joe at one time. Well, you don't know that. You don't know anything about that. That's a conspiracy. I have no idea what you're talking about. Thank you, Sandra. That's really good. The real issue here is the trans children of America. I don't know anything about this. It's all
Sandra, we didn't say nothing about trans.
Yeah. Well, that's the most important thing. You guys are talking about things. Well, what are you going to do about it? You don't know anything about elections. The trans children, and they're coming after our kids. All right, thank you, Sandra, for piping, and I appreciate that little rant of yours. It's good to have him here. It's nice to have him, jumping in and bringing it all back to what really
Jesus
matters.
Christ, I can't remember the name of the movie. What was the name of his movie?
Oh, Apocalypto.
Oh,
Apocalypto. Coming up next. And remember, the best part is, so I was up with my brother and my father, and I was actually defending his movie. I was like, "Have you guys seen, Apocalypto?" They're like, "No, I had no interest." I go, "What do you think of the name? What do you think the movie's about?" I go, "It just sounds just like it would be terrible. The movie just sounds like it would be, I don't know, about something awful, like something I wouldn't be interested in. So you think the name sucks?" Yeah, the name's terrible. What if I told you it was an action movie? Would that surprise you? They'd be like, "Yeah, it doesn't sound anything like it would be an action movie. It sounds like it would be just a dull, boring movie.
I
So,
like
so
it.
you know, well, you haven't seen the movie yet. Wait
That's
till
the
you see
only
the
part
movie.
of it I like.
Yeah, have you seen the movie yet?
No,
Did you watch it? You got to watch it. You got to watch it.
you
It's
know
actually pretty.
goddamn well I ain't gonna watch it.
It's actually pretty good. You'll like it. It's like a
Let,
Die Hard with Puerto Ricans running around. You know,
let me
Puerto
ask you
Rican Die
something.
Hard.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What the fuck do you think Biden really thinks? Because I don't think he wants to do this shit anymore. I think he's tired of this. Do you think that
Um,
that hunger? You know, he's a wannabe macho type of guy, and you know he's got an ego. Do you think that that ego is still keeping him in it?
I'll tell you exactly what I think he's thinking right now. That 12-year-old looks really good, Jack. I bet you she smells fantastic. And him, look at him.
You like that layup I said